Hi, everyone, and welcome. You are attending Devant's event webinar today. Our topic is how to communicate with a recruiter. And I'm so excited to welcome you all here on behalf of Devant and the team. This time is for you. So, as I mentioned, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat, and we're going to get started. My name is Sisha Maharaj, and I'm a senior consultant for business development and external relations with Devant. I also do a lot of other work as well within financial services. So I'm really excited to be here to help you secure a better job or your first job, but also to help you navigate the employment journey here. And to here is on the right-hand side, you'll see some of our team members. We also have a special guest who's going to take us through the topic this evening. Next slide. So for those of you who are not familiar with Devant, Devant helps over 150,000 international students, newcomers, and alumni to get hired in Canada. Devant offers actionable advice from career coaches and industry experts throughout our regular live events. We offer latest AI-driven tools to polish your resume, your interview school skills, and your labor market knowledge. We also partner with employers to aid your immigration, academic life, and career development. So please check out Devant.ca to learn more about how Devant can help you. So, for a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So, as you can see, this is a webinar. All participants are muted. So, there's no need to use your video. It is recorded, and everyone who has participated and joined today will receive a recording of this topic today. I'm going to encourage you to post your questions in the Q&A feature. At the bottom of your screen, you can see the Q&A button. This is really important because we have quite a few people joining us tonight, and this is a great way to make sure that your questions are answered. I would encourage you, if you see a question that you think is really resonating with you, that you like that question. This way it'll populate to the top, and I will be asking our guests those most popular questions first. And then finally, we have a great list of upcoming events for you. These are all free on Wednesday evenings from 7 to 8 for the community. So please make sure you bookmark www.devant.ca/all events so that you can take a look and mark your calendars for upcoming events. Next slide. So I am so excited to introduce you to Emma Martini. Emma is our consultant and career coach here with Devant, and she is going to be presenting the content here today. I will be monitoring the chat, and if you have any questions for me in particular, feel free to send me a private message or to make a note in the chat. So Emma, welcome, and we have so many people interested to learn how to communicate with recruiters. So at this point, I'd like to pass the floor to you, Emma.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Yes, I'm very excited to be here today. So thank you for the invite to host this workshop today. Yes, so my name is Emma Martini. I have worked in the career development world for the last 6 years. I went to school for it at a college in Toronto. And I've been working in the not-for-profit space and in the post-secondary space ever since. So today we are going to cover a few very important and interesting topics. So the first, contact with recruiters, what to say, what to do, etiquette, things like that, communicating professionally through email, LinkedIn, how to use AI in these different areas, sending thank you messages, follow-up, and how to talk about salary, which is always a little bit of a touchy subject, and building relationships in discovering the hidden job market as well. So first, we're going to tackle the first, contact with recruiters. So what is one thing you want a recruiter to remember about you after your first interaction? So we're talking first impressions here. So maybe some of you have come across a recruiter on LinkedIn, and also feel free to put some of your answers in the chat. I would love to see those pop up as well, just to see what other people's experience has been as well. But yeah, so some of the main things that you want to remember when interacting with a recruiter for the very first time is focus on a very specific value. Something I see time and time again is messages coming in, even to myself, that are a little bit vague, and they don't tackle your specific hard skills. And perhaps the message even includes something like saying, I'm hardworking, I'm a hardworking person, something like that. We really want to focus on specific values. So, for example, you could say, I help teams hire faster by organizing high volume interview days. We want to be really specific in the value that you're bringing to employ and to the recruiter. They typically work with a specific industry, or they might have multiple clients in different industries. So not even just to, it's not even for bragging, it's just so that when they get your specific message, or that first conversation, they know exactly where to direct you to. So we just want to make sure that you're being specific in either an in-person interaction or over messaging. Of course, the burning question of how should you introduce yourself to a recruiter on LinkedIn if you have not applied to a job yet. So if you are still kind of scoping out different positions that you want to apply for, maybe you're thinking about applying to a different job, and you just haven't hit submit yet, we want a strong structure to model. So one line about who you are, for example, what program you're in, what year you're in, or what's your key interest, potentially like what your current position is as well. One line showing that you did your research about the company. So something you noticed about that person, their journey, maybe you have something in common with them, or something you noticed about the company that really stood out to you. Their values align with yours in some way. They went to the company was at an event that you perhaps in the same city as your own, or an event that you wanted to attend. And then finally, one line request of a short ask. So the thing that is it's a little bit of a killer of like, if you get a wonderfully structured message, you see the person, they're clearly eager, their LinkedIn profile is done, but there's no clear call to action at the end of it. Myself personally, and other colleagues of mine, okay, well, what's the action? What's the call to action? What is this person trying to get at here? Do they want just to send me a message to say hi? Do they want a referral? Do you want to connect and have an informational interview? So it's very important to declare kind of how much time you're going to be needing, or what exactly you're looking for in the interaction. So I have an example here. I don't know, maybe I can paste it in the chat. Kind of those lines all together. Example as well. Yes, so the examples in the chat. So, hi Sam, I'm a recent business graduate focusing on corporate recruiting. I've been following your company's growth in tech hiring, and your post on building inclusive interview processes really stood out to me. I'd love to learn more about you and how your team hires junior recruiters, and would appreciate any advice. So asking for advice is also always wonderful, instead of asking for like a job or a referral, because it's always important to learn more, and you're able to like build rapport in that way. Okay, next question. Should you say I'm looking for any job to a recruiter to show you can do anything? So the key points here is that saying anything does make it harder for recruiters to match you. They need a clear title range and specific skills that you have, and pretty much exactly what you're looking for. They get many messages. They also work full time, but they want to help. Generally, recruiters and talent acquisition, they want to help and they want to support. It's just hard if it's like, I will literally do anything. Well, that's hard. So being more specific, you could say, if you do have two careers in mind or two job directions in mind, you could say, I'm flexible. I'm targeting a junior data analyst or business analyst roles in Toronto in the 55 to 65K a year range. Something very specific will help them then be like, okay, that's not me, that's my colleague. I can send your email their way. Maybe they ask for your resume to get a little bit more context. But I know that's, you do have to get them in a conversation in order to be able to say, to be specific like this. But if you're able to get them in a conversation or connect with them and send a message like this. Sending something like that is specific is always best. That's that other example. Okay. Next, we're going to tackle communicating professionally through email, LinkedIn, and being able to use AI. So first question, what are the must-have parts of a professional message to a recruiter? So we want to, I will also share this checklist with you after once I'm done, but we want to start with a clear subject line and opener. So in the subject line, we want to say application for marketing coordinator, like George Brown graduate, for example, because I went to George Brown, so I'm biased. Then we want to say one sentence introduction. So your name, your program that you graduated from or currently in, your work experience, and the role that you're targeting. Then you want to talk about why you're writing. I applied to this X job. I'm asking about upcoming roles or an informational chat request as well. You want to include one relevant proof point, like a short story, a metric, a skill. Something that I've been told time and time again by my managers, the hiring managers, and the people who read my resume from HR from the jobs I apply for is that my applications are very strong with numbers. And so when you go to edit your resume and your career coach tells you to include numbers, it's something that time and time again will come up. Every single line, anything you've done, number of colleagues you've worked with, budget, number of projects, things like that. You definitely want to include how many people you've worked with, any type of numbers you can add in, even in a message through an email or LinkedIn message can really provide a context for the employer or the recruiter to say, okay, this person has worked with, 50 clients a month or 150 client caseload, for example. They can do this job that they're applying for. And it also just shows it's just something more concrete for them to hold on to. Like, okay, they've worked with people, they've worked with a lot of people, they've worked with a bigger budget, and things like that. And then finally, at the very end, we want a polite closing with a simple call to action. Would you be open to a 15-minute call next week? So being able to, sorry, I'm just pasting this in the chat. This is the checklist. So this is a great email template. And then maybe you want to run it through ChatGPT and just make sure that grammatically it's all correct. Everything is concise. If you're able to get a hold of a recruiter's email, maybe you attended a networking event and they gave you their email. You just want to refresh their memory by sending them a quick thank you for the chat and something like this. Again, it's very specific and it highlights your skills. So we want to make sure that that is still the drive home message. Okay. Next, how can AI help you communicate with recruiters and where should you avoid it? So similar to what I just mentioned, following a template like this is something that you can write yourself, even if it is in point form. Of course, you can use ChatGPT. That's the easy one to default to. We do brainstorming bullets for your resume, your LinkedIn about section, outreach messages are great. You can definitely add a personal tone to those. They can make sure that the message is concise. I know LinkedIn only lets you use so many characters, so it's great to be able to like write something point form and fine tune that tone, grammar, and clarity. So your writing's concise and professional. But I would say writing your entire resume or inventing achievements, this is not the way to use any sort of AI tools. The whole point of your resume is to increase your keyword count compared to the job posting. And if you are running the resume through ChatGPT like everybody else, and saying, okay, come up with accomplishment statements to add to your resume. Not all of them might be true. Everyone's doing it, so these sentences are all going to sound the same. And we don't need to rewrite these sentences because we want to make sure that the language matches the job posting. So generally, you're taking the language right from the job posting anyway. You don't need ChatGPT to help you write anything because you're mirroring what's already there. Another one is scripting every interview answer or every email. Recruiters do want authentic human language. So I'm sure we've all seen, you get an email, somebody is trying to connect with you. You could just tell. It's getting really good, and it definitely, like, you could definitely use it to help you write some of these messages. But I would just say, give your best shot first, writing your own. And hopefully it'll be able to add that human aspect to it and just help you be a little bit more concise. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to add on that one. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like that's a huge topic. And I there's a lot of, I think I'm going to touch on this a little bit later. But I've worked with a lot of recruiters in the last couple of years. And I've attended conferences and things like that, where I'm asking firsthand to big recruitment companies how they're using AI to scan resumes and within their systems. Many, even the big recruitment companies, are still reading the resumes. So they'll have their initial scans, but a human being is still reading your resume at the end of the day. So just beware of your tone and what you are writing in your resume. A lot of recruitment companies, it's a huge budget, and at the end of the day, like, they know the job best, and so they're still the ones reading it. So just be careful when you are using it. Okay, is it okay to ignore recruiter messages that are off target? So this may or may not come up for everybody, because if you are looking and you're very flexible and you're very open, this may not apply to you. But if you are looking for something very specific and a recruiter messages you, we definitely just want to do the polite thing, a short message back. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm currently focused on an analyst type of role rather than sales, but I'd be happy to stay connected for future opportunities that align better with the positions I mentioned. So I'll paste this one here. So again, we never want to leave anyone hanging. You never know who can be like a door or a window, or you never know if you'll meet this person again in a different capacity. People change jobs. As you niche in your industry, you might find that it's actually a lot smaller of a community than you expected. And so always just sending a polite message, thanking them for reaching out, and then moving along. Like, if maybe something in the future comes up. And you can use this misaligned outreach to steer them towards your actual target role with a link to a better fit posting for your portfolio. So that's the other thing, is like, a lot of the recruiters, if you're in a recruitment company, you have people tackling all different industries. If you send this nice polite message and maybe name a skill in that message, they might say, oh, my bad, let me share your profile with my colleague. And easy enough, there you are connected with somebody new. Okay, yes. Thank you, messages, follow-up, and salary. So, okay. All right. Thank you, messages, follow-up, and salary. So I feel like people know this. If I were to ask, how long before you send a thank you message, are people sending thank you messages? 100%, we're still sending thank you messages. Not everybody does it. If anybody here has ever interviewed somebody for a position, I've been on both sides of the table. Not everybody sends a thank you message, and it really does make a difference. You were added to a calendar invite, so you have the emails of all the people who attended that interview with you. You want same day, within 24 hours, even if your interview was at 5 p.m. or something, the next morning is fine. You want to stay on their radar. It's just great to show politeness, eagerness, initiative, to thank the people who you just interviewed with. So basically, you want to thank them for their time and add one concrete detail you appreciated learning. So generally, they're talking about their company, they're talking about their positions. You want to note something that you learned about the company in there that you couldn't have Googled. Perhaps you want to include a short story or a skill that reinforces your fit. Reattaching your resume never hurts. They have it, they interviewed you. But if they interviewed more than a couple people a day, or maybe you're at the end of the week, they may not remember everything about you. So if you reattach your resume and then you send the thank you email, like they might then go, oh, right, that's that person again. So it never hurts to reattach the resume. We want a clear, confident closing line, such as, I remain very interested in the role and look forward to next steps. For a bonus, if in the interview you spoke about branding, content, website creation, or any sort of written work, feel free to attach that accomplishment or portfolio to the email at the very end. And then you can showcase your work. I've had people, and I used to recommend even like a quick 3-slide PowerPoint, which is a lot if you're interviewing a lot. But after an interview, for certain competitive jobs, adding a 3-slide PowerPoint that shows your face, who you are, your current position or program that you're in. The second slide would explain more about like a problem. I think it was like a problem with the company, not a problem with the company, because you never want to be like, oh, I can fix your company. They think their company is great. But more about like, oh, I noticed this interesting thing on your website. Here's how I would have tackled this type of perhaps it's branding, or perhaps it's you notice a dashboard, or you notice some stats on their website and you're like, hey, I noticed you shared some stats on your website. I can create a dashboard for this, and maybe you use some of their stats to create a graph or a chart or something, and that can be your second slide, just showing, hey, if you've ever wanted to use this in a sales pitch, here you go. And the final slide, again, thanking them and tying your skills into the position that you're applying for. And these 3 slides kind of show, okay, it reminds the employer who you are. It gives them an idea of like, oh, this person has some ideas on how to improve the company and take initiative in different ways. Again, showcasing your skill set. And the final one, it ties everything together again. So yeah, anyway, that one's like a little bit extra. And I would only say it's like if it's for more competitive jobs, like a quick 3-slide could be something that you're interested in. I think I've only done it one time before, but anyway, just if you felt like you had some extra time on your hands. Okay, big burning question is the professional way to communicate your salary expectations. I was maybe 18 and I was applying for a summer job, and it was like a social work type position, working with kids. And I went in and they asked me in the interview, what are your salary expectations for the job? And I just wanted the job. So I was like, oh, anything. They're like, I need a number. I was like, oh, very timid in the conversation. I said, oh, like minimum wage, like $14 at the time was $14 an hour. And they were like, okay, well, the job is starting at 18. So I guess, are you fine with 18? And I said, okay, yes, that sounds good. So obviously they're not gonna, they would never give me more if I was already asking for less than what they were going to give me. So I did learn a valuable lesson that day. Go in with a number, know how much the job is worth, know how much you are worth, and you want to be confident in conveying that to the person interviewing you. So a little suggestion, we want to give a range, not necessarily a hard number. Based on the requirements for this type of role in Toronto and my education and work experience, I'm targeting the 50 to 60K a year range, depending on the overall responsibilities and benefits. If you are, especially if you have a background and you have some work experience under your belt, you want to make sure that they know, like, you're somebody who can elevate for this type of position, or you can elevate the company in this type of position. So sharing that, I have a background in this and I am, I'm bringing value to the company, I deserve more. Now, if you don't necessarily have this is not directly in your career, in your next career step, maybe you don't have as much work experience, you didn't go to school for this, you can just leave out the part about based on your background and your education, and you can just leave it as based on the requirements for this role in Toronto. So, and the reason for this is that you do for this type of situation where maybe you're changing careers, is that you do want to separate the job value from yourself, because the range reflects the role, the market, the responsibilities, and not necessarily your personal value coming in. But if you do have, so if it's your first job after graduation, I would say, like, based on the requirements for the job. This is like the sentence that I included in the example is perfectly fine. But you want to go in there, look up Glassdoor, find how much the job is going in your city. You want to be confident and you don't want to undersell or oversell. And generally now all of the, not generally, it is now a law in Ontario that you have to post the salary range. So you will know, but some companies might leave a really wide range. So going on Glassdoor to find out what other positions in the city are paying, that will give you a great idea of market value. And also, like, how low are you willing to go as well? Hope that answers that question. It's a tough one. I would write it out and, like, practice saying it because it is touchy, and like, personally, I fumbled it the first time, so I hope that other people right out of school don't have that experience. You want to go in confidently and just say the number. It just moves it along. Okay. How often is it appropriate to follow up if you haven't heard back? Honestly, sometimes these things can take a really long time. Depending, even if the employer is busy, they have 10 people to interview. They're probably not interviewing every single day of the week. So sometimes these things can take a long time, and even after applying, it might have to go through several screening process. So I would say follow up once every 7 to 10 days. You would also want to reference the role and tailored reason you're a strong match. So whether you've applied and maybe then you got a pre-screening or you had an interview, I would say a week later is generally a good time. After an interview, if no timeline was given, waiting a week. If it was given, follow that timeline and then maybe wait a couple days after if they still haven't. And then, but again, like, in that follow-up message, very grateful for the interview experience or the pre-screening call. I was doing more research on the company. I'm very excited about XYZ. I reattach my resume just for your reference. I bring this skill set. Really appreciate your time. Call it a day. Just checking in on if there is an update on the position. So again, like, very polite message to be sent afterwards. But following up generally like a week after or a few days after the timeline they gave you, especially if it's near holiday season or they have like budget wrapping up think like fiscal year things, sometimes hiring gets put on the back burner. Okay, building relationships and looking through the hidden job market. Okay, informational interviews. I'll quickly define it. If you have never had an informational interview before, I highly recommend it, especially if you're coming right out of school. An informational interview is 15 minutes chat with somebody in the industry where you are able to ask questions about what skills they have, their career journey, what advice do they have for you. I highly recommend doing it. You can feel a little, you can feel a little nervous doing it because you're asking somebody for their time. It's a lot easier asking for an informational interview. You pick their brain, you find out more about the industry. They give you advice. Maybe they give you websites to check out in terms of like job search support as well. And then maybe their company is hiring, and in a week you notice a job is open. You message them, hey, I just noticed this job is hiring. Do you have any advice for me? And so an informational interview can be very helpful just for gaining more information. Before I started my own business of career coaching on the side, it was recommended to me to do 10 informational interviews. And I did do 10. And so I had a whole spreadsheet of who I contacted. I reached out to a bunch of career coaches who started their own business. And I just asked them, any advice? What did you do? What about this? What about that? And they each gave me more and more information to build off of. And a lot of them even, they gave me a lot of websites. And one of them turned out to be like turned into a business coach for me. So I found it very helpful to reach out to the community of people that were in my industry. And especially if you're just asking for 15 minutes of their time, sometimes they'll give you half an hour. You never want to like over ask. And so I just think that being able to ask for their advice, people love to talk about themselves. They love to talk about, their career journey, why they're successful. Generally, people like to help. So don't be afraid to shoot them the question. But to answer this question of what to say when asking for an informational interview, we want a personal hook, something specific from their profile. I saw that you transitioned from the tech industry to social work. I saw that you were in you were a nurse and now you started your own podcast. Like, how did you transition? Like, if that's something that I'm interested in, or maybe that they posted an article or an interview or something, and they were interviewed, for example, and you want to share with them that you noticed that it was something that you were drawn to. So start with a personal hook. Then you want to share a brief context about you, like, I'm really interested in that. I went to the same school as you, blah, blah, blah. Would you be open to a 20-minute chat over video call or phone call over the next 2 weeks? I'm available Monday at 5, Wednesday at 7, whatever. So you want to be specific at the end of like, are you free these few times? And then that you can jump right in. You don't have to go back and forth about timing, things like that. Because honestly, if you give people like, I want 20 minutes, if you're free Wednesday, a lot of people just say, okay, sure, like that sounds great. But if you have to go back and forth and they have to really work for it, they're not that may yield fewer results than just being like very direct. I also wrote an example here, so I'll put that in the chat as well. Give me a second. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. But yeah, I would highly recommend the informational interview. And then even going from there, like, maybe you talk for half an hour and you really connect with this person. If you ever have other questions about the industry, you can it's another person in your network. And I would track everything, because if you're like me and you did 10, you don't remember necessarily all the advice, what piece of advice you heard from what person. And when you send your thank you email to them afterwards, or maybe you want to send like, hey, I just want to let you know I actually got a job and I just wanted to thank you for that conversation we had 6 months ago. Maybe you're going to want to remember who it was that you actually connected with, because maybe you won't remember all of their names. So yeah, write it down as well. I think that question, we already asked that question. I'm going to just move to the next one. Okay, so I think the question that's supposed to be there is, why is in-person networking still so important in 2025, even with AI? So this is the question. The salary one we already covered. I believe this is the question that's supposed to be there. So why is in-person networking important, even with online applications, and things like that? First and foremost, a lot of companies, even like in Ontario now, there's a big call to go back into the office. Um, Much to my dismay, everyone's going back. So it's good to develop those in-person social skills as well. I'm like the queen of awkward. So it's very helpful to practice, maybe at like low stakes events. But it is still important to network, but go to the in-person events. Just like to remind yourself of, small talk and social etiquette and things like that are great. So I'd say many roles also are never are not advertised. They're filter referrals and conversations before a posting has appeared. So even I have a friend who has an interview tomorrow. They got their interview through a friend of a friend in the industry. So you never know who knows who. And so being able to go to that networking event, the informational interviews is also why I really appreciate that whole concept, because that's a way to network where you're very innocently and very curiously asking somebody just for information, and you just don't know where those conversations can lead to. And oh, okay. So yeah, I was just gonna add, human connection also helps you cut through a lot of the automated systems, and you can be well remembered for a role when it opens. When my favorite piece of advice that I ever got, and I just think really holds true, is like, tell people that when you are looking for work, you're open to work on LinkedIn is one thing, turning on that feature, but sharing with your previous instructors, your friends, your family, those are the people who are looking out for you anyway. And who you've probably already spoken to about the work you've been doing. And so they know they can speak to your skill set. Um, and I always joke, like, if you ever go to a family function and you have that one aunt who just knows everybody, and talks to everybody, like the hairdresser of the family who just like has all the gossip. Those people are are great and might know somebody. So I had an aunt refer a few people to me to like have informational interviews for and give me advice. So yeah, anyway, I feel like a lot of people have that family member that or friend that just collects all the knowledge. So you definitely want to share with them that you're looking, because you never know who they know. Okay. So then what is one hidden job market action you can take in the next 7 days? So thank you all. Everybody came to this today. What are we leaving with? We want a call to action, right? We want some action items at the end of this. You're here because you're looking for work, or you will be looking for work soon. So what are some actions you can take in the next 7 days? I'm going to wait a minute. And if somebody wants to write some of their ideas in the chat, There's a few things that we looked at. We talked about the informational interviews. I could talk about that all day because truly it helped me. Um, in-person networking events. We talked about different messages that you can send to recruiters, either through LinkedIn or email. Prepping your salary expectation sentence for your interview that's coming up potentially. Drafting some email templates, for example, a thank you email. Okay. So my action list for everybody here, which maybe you just wrote it down for yourself. You don't have to put it in the chat. Um, I just read the last comment. Yes. So some different ways for the hidden job market action items you can take in the next 7 days. I'll paste this in the chat as well. Is building a target company list of 15 to 30 employers. I'm a huge advocate for applying value first. So if you are looking at transitioning into a specific industry, or you really know that you want to work in post-secondary, for example, or a hospital, making a list of the 15 to 20 companies that you really want to work for, like startups in Toronto or whichever, things like that, making a list and identifying, make a list of those companies and their career pages and start there when you go to apply. LinkedIn, Indeed, Zip Recruiter, they're like a sea of job postings. It can be very overwhelming. Starting with your top 20 companies and going to their career page allows you to see what other positions they have. Maybe you would have explored a different job title because everybody uses, like, the companies use different language. They name job titles some different things at different companies. So it allows you to see what the company is hiring for. Maybe you apply to something different, but again, your goal is to work at that company. So you're able to start there and then after move to LinkedIn. Request your 1 to 2 informational interviews with professionals doing the job that you are looking for, and perhaps attending at least one event, either a career fair or a meetup, and aim to have 3 meaningful conversations. So that's my list. And I need to get better at the in-person networking events because sometimes I get shy as well. So that's one that I know that I need to keep that. Okay, thank you. That's now we'll have some time for the Q&A.
Wow, Emma, that was so useful. The chat is burning up and the Q&A is full for you with lots of questions. So I'm just going to get right to it to try to make sure we can get as much of our audience's questions to you as possible. So I am going to be going through the questions that everyone's asked. Just a reminder, please like the questions that resonate with you most. This way I can prioritize those questions for Emma. We've got 15 minutes left. So I'm just going to jump right in. Okay, Emma? Looks like the top question right now is internships. So how can I reach recruiters when you're looking for an internship? This is sort of a topic around how to ask questions to recruiters. So maybe I can help with framing this in a question. So if I'm looking for an internship position and I'm at a networking event, for example, what would be some good questions that I can ask at a networking event if I'm looking for an internship?
Um, yes, absolutely. So sort of on the same wavelength of that being specific and being able to hone in on the skills that you offer, I would say the easiest way to start and have those conversations is by having an accomplishment in the back of your mind. Maybe you just finished a project, capstone project of some sort. You have something you can speak to. Maybe you just give a presentation on something and you just did the research for it. Have some sort of accomplishment in your back pocket so that you can say, oh, maybe the company is RBC. Like, oh, I saw that RBC is having a marketing internship. I actually just gave my capstone project sales pitch, or I was part of a branding hackathon last year. We worked with this company. I worked on a team of 5. We gave the presentation. We didn't win, but it was really fun. Is there any advice you would give to somebody like me looking for an internship, such as the marketing one that RBC has? So, using your experiences, even if they are just group projects or research that you've done recently for a paper, no matter how small, have something in your back pocket to be able to speak to. I find that the easiest in events is like, oh, this thing I just did, it just happened. And I'm very excited about it. And the recruiter will always see your excitement come through. So, in that genuine interest in whatever you accomplish. So, yeah, I hope that answered. Did that answer the question? I think so. Okay.
Thank you so much, Em. I see celebration emojis, so I think that is a good feedback. So I have a one here which I think might apply. I see we've got lawyers, we have doctors, we have nurses, we have business students, we have quite a few diversified group of individuals. It's so impressive to see your backgrounds. Thank you for introducing yourselves in the chat. I'm going to ask this question next. I worked as a lawyer and now I'm searching for a job as a junior data analyst. Is it good to mention it? If yes, how can I do this? And I ask this question because there may be people who have like more experience than required for the job. So I feel this is a very important question, and I'd like to see what your thoughts are on that, please.
Definitely career change is always a big question. I think you're gonna, and this is my opinion. Like, I think sometimes you can have like subjective views on this. You're going to get someone who might be, I don't know how long you were a lawyer for, but some people are ageist. And so either you're going to be too young, too old, have too much experience, not enough experience. So it's not always personal. But I would say in that scenario, that you very simply, what are the skills on the job posting that you do have? That's what you're emphasizing in your resume and in your interview. Look at all the soft skills, look at the technology they're using. If they're using one type of system, how can that mirror a system you've already had in place? What you're doing is you're removing the pieces that are not relevant to that job, and you're inputting the job statements, the requirements, and the responsibilities that you do have the skills for, the transferable skills for. So I would just say at the end of the day, if you are changing careers, it might not feel like you have the specific skills, but that's where your education comes into play. I'm sure if you're changing from law to data analyst, you've taken some sort of coding courses, maybe you learn Python, building dashboards, things like that. That's the projects you want to emphasize. That's the software you want to note. Maybe you took some courses, you're emphasizing that. Maybe you're not mentioning if you went, maybe you're not mentioning your like PhD, for example, but you would mention some of the coding courses you took on like mini courses that you took.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm seeing a lot of activity here for this question, so I'm going to ask you this. I lost a lot of opportunities because of getting nervous during the interview. What advice do you have for me to overcome that? So, if we were to translate this into a question for the recruiter, imagine they're in the interview and they're nervous. Is there a question that they can ask the recruiter in the interview that would help them?
So I would say if you're nervous, very fair. I would be surprised if anybody was not nervous in an interview. And I am sorry that that happened, that you felt like your nerves got the best of you and you weren't able to land the next step. One, there's no shame in an interview of asking for a few extra seconds. If they are like, hey, how's it going? You're in the interview and you feel yourself getting a bit worked up, they ask a question, do not be afraid to say, I just need a minute. Do you mind if I just take a second? I just want to write my thoughts down. There is no harm at the beginning of an interview, especially like after the first question or the second question, just to take a minute, take some deep breaths, you do write your notes down, and then you go ahead and you speak confidently and clearly. I'd say more than anything, interviewers would prefer that than stumbling over the likes and the ums and those filler words. Remove those and just take a breath. It's better for a moment of silence. Gives them a minute to relax for a second too. And before, so that's if you're in the interview. Before the interview, please, please practice. There is nothing that will build your confidence more than reviewing questions and answers that it's like you're manifesting it. You're telling yourself why you're good for the job. If you're practicing time and time again, tell me about yourself. And you're practicing out loud. I'm good. I have this much experience and I have these skills that are relevant to this job, and you're tying it into the job you're applying for, and you're practicing, like you're just telling yourself over and over again why you're good for the job. And so that is the surefire way of developing confidence before an interview. So never winging it is also what I would say is my biggest piece of advice. But yeah, I would say practice to gain confidence, and then don't be afraid to take a beat in your interview if you need a second to regroup.
Thanks, Emma. What are some of the common mistakes students make when they're emailing or messaging recruiters on LinkedIn or any other career sites?
Yes. I would say they just ask for a job. That's a big one, is just starting by saying, hey, do you have a job? They do. They're recruiters. They have lots of jobs on the go. They need to know specifically what kind of jobs you're looking for. It's also not very polite. So you want to start with like a general polite message. Hi, how are you? I'm this person. I know LinkedIn does not give you a lot of wiggle room anymore. In the last few years, they pulled a lot of their, if you don't have premium, you're not able to send a lot of messages. So you want to send messages to the recruiters of the positions you really want. Some of them will link their website. Some of them will link their email on their profile. So check that first. But I would say asking for a job is a big no-no right away. You want to be gentle in your requests. Some of the examples I used are good. And just don't be rude. Don't be rude in it. Send it through ChatGPT if you're ever questioning on what to write. Yeah, but I gave some examples, so I would say that those are a good starting point. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. There's some really great questions here. Some of them are general questions, not questions of what you need to ask a recruiter. So I'm just trying to see if there's anything about asking questions to a recruiter. Um, okay. Okay, this is a good one. So if you felt you did a really bad interview being due to being nervous or anxious, is there any way to recover it? What should I say or ask in my thank you note? That's an excellent question.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
So if you did a really bad interview because you were really nervous or you're really anxious, is there any way to recover from it? What should I say in my thank you note or my follow-up email?
Oh, that's so tough. I feel for you when you just know in your gut, like you know it's not going well, and you know it's because you can't get over it. That's definitely tough. I'd say just own it. Like I've had people in my interviews say, I'm really nervous right now. I like it's a job I'm very interested in. It's something I care deeply about. I feel like I could be really good at the job. I'm really nervous right now. So just want to put that out there that if I seem nervous, it's because I am. So I would say feel free to toss that in at the beginning or at the end of your interview if you feel like that's maybe what happened. You could definitely include that at the end in a thank you email. Just say like, and maybe that is a perfect time then to do that 3 slide that I explained in the middle of the first one explaining yourself, how you would solve a problem at the company, and the third one being like how it all ties together, something like that. When I say solve a problem, like an initiative, like you had an idea in the interview of how to take initiative at the company, just to showcase like I am really passionate about this job. I'm very interested in the company. My nerves might have got the best of me. I would still be really interested in learning more and continuing the conversation. Mhm.
Thanks, Emma. So I think we have time for one more question. As I said, I do see some general questions here, just for you guys to know. I'm happy to stay after 8 to answer some of these questions that are more general, that are not related to the direct topic. So if you want to stick around, I will stay for 10 minutes trying to go through some of the questions. But for you, Emma, I think this is an interesting one too. I know we're often told to be personable and positive, but can we also be assertive in an interview?
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely positive. Yes. And personable, of course, making small talk, but yes, being assertive in an interview, I would assertive maybe gets like a bad rep um in certain situations, but I would say that yes, confidence is key. And again, like assertive, it can be so simple as removing the ums and the likes, like those filler words. It comes across as being confident in your skill set. So definitely, especially if you're applying for like a fast-paced company, or you can tell from the interviewers that that's who they are. Like they're like, okay, let's hop to it. This is what we're looking for. This is this, and they're kind of like that. Maybe you also want to come across in the same way and match their energy in that interview. Um, yeah, be assertive for sure, for sure. Mhm.
Great. Thank you so much, Emma, for being here with us. I want to respect your time. So, for those of you who are still here, I see we have over 100 participants online. Please show some love and appreciation for Emma. She is here to answer your questions and to help you. I see lots of clapping. Thank you so much. And just as you can see, Emma, if you can maybe put up that last slide one more time. Next, our next session is going to be on the immigration. For those of you who are international students or newcomers to Canada, Devant offers weekly sessions or regular sessions on Wednesdays at 7 to 8. We have a support for you for those who are in alumni as well. But on Wednesday, January the 28th, I'm so excited to host immigration Q&A with our immigration lawyer who's been here with us for years. She's going to be focusing on the Ontario Provincial Nominee Program. She's fantastic for those of you who have not met her yet. So hope that you would join us for that or tell your friends. It's really good information. And she is a licensed immigration lawyer. Also, following this, if we can go to the next slide, Emma, around the alumni, for those of you who are graduating or have recently graduating and you're not sure what comes after graduation, please join the Alumni Advantage. Finishing school is a big milestone. Congratulations. But we also understand that finding that career within your career study, but also at the right level can, take some time, especially in this market. So scan to register here, and Devon is here to help you and to help recent grads. So again, if you have friends or family who are recent grads also looking, this is lots of support and resources for you as recent graduates. In terms of our next slide, I think, is that it? Are we good with our slides, Emma? Okay, awesome. So for those of you who are here, I'd love to get your feedback. If you can maybe share your thoughts with us and let us know what your feedback is on this session. I'd really appreciate it. I will take a note of the questions for future sessions that Devon offers. And again, I want to take this moment to thank you so much, Emma, for being here. I see, lots of high stars. Please give us your feedback if you have topics for the future. And again, I see a lot of need here for the topic at hand, Emma. So I feel we need to offer this again in a couple months. So please let's follow up with you and see if we can offer this with you again. On behalf of Devant and all of our attendees, I just want to take this time to thank you so much, Emma, for your time and your expertise and for sharing your knowledge with the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and good luck job searching, everyone. Talk soon. Okay,
Bye,
bye.
Emma. So thanks everyone for sharing your feedback. As I mentioned, I will stay on a little bit longer to answer. There are lots of other questions that are not related directly to the topic. So I'm going to do my best to answer some of these for you. Um, just give me a second here. I'm just going to pull up the questions and answers here, and I'm going to zip through them, see if I can go to the ones that have the most votes. So, someone just said, thank you so much for the session. What's the prognosis of 2025 as a job market? I found it rather gloomy and uneventful for the most part. Is that a fair assessment? And what are your thoughts on 2026? So, in general, we know that the employment has been very tough. There has been a contraction of jobs for different reasons, and it has been tougher to secure employment. I will say though that there are jobs available in the hidden job market. So as you mentioned, or as Emma mentioned, for example, and gave you some tips, I talk with employers on a regular basis. For example, I'm speaking to a local employer right now, small to medium sized business, who's looking for 10 to 12 salespeople. Speaking to another employer, who's trying to expand and scale their business quite large. So I think that one of the opportunities that exists is maybe advertised jobs in the open market is really difficult to compete for some of the bigger brands. However, there's so many small to medium sized local companies that are looking for talent. And networking, reaching out to some of your favorite local brands is a great opportunity for you to get some experience, for you to do a career, transition or switch. And one of the things that I, highly recommend is following your top brands, whether that be on social media, commenting, interacting with them. Build a rapport online is so much easier than it used to be. So, you have a great opportunity leveraging social media, leveraging online, going to their community events. One of our main sponsors is a major bank, and they're going to be offering a lot of support and incentives for recent grads and youth. They're hosting local events at their branches. They're hiring locally at almost every branch for FSR positions. So the opportunities are there. The reality is that may not be advertised, and you need to build the rapport and connect with individual companies or hiring managers through hidden network, through the hidden job market. And all that means is that it hasn't been directly advertised. But if they meet you and they understand your passion, they understand your strengths, your skills, what your transferable knowledge is, they will remember you. Also, employees might refer you. There's usually an employee referral program. So, yes, the reality is jobs are not the same. However, I feel that everyone is looking the same old way, which is online and open job market. And to be honest with you, that's just not how you secure a job. It's not the only way that how you secure a job. You need to network to get recommended for an interview or to be highlighted. You still have to apply online, but really that's afterthought. Cracking the hidden job market is how you're going to land a job in 2026, which means to me, networking. Someone said, I joined late. Is there a place where I can get recording of this workshop? Everyone who has attended this workshop will get a link for the recording. How would you like to explain regarding the auto message on LinkedIn? Some people provide a link to schedule a meeting. How can we make sure it's not junk or spam? That's a really good question. Again, it really depends, again, on timing. You have to really do your research on the company. We do other sessions to explain to you how to research companies. So, for example, if you're applying to a company that you're not sure of, Google them, research them online, check out any feedback, customer feedback, check out their website, their Instagram, their social. Maybe you can ask a question to that auto gen message. Find out if there's any employees that you can see there. Just do your research to see if it's a legitimate company. It might be a recruitment agency. It might be someone who's trying to sell you products. So it is a very good question that you ask, and you should be doing your due diligence because your data data and your information is important. So it's up to you to do your research to make sure that it is a legitimate outreach. How can I get a contact? How can I contact a company if I want to do a capstone project, AI? Just reach out to them, just email them. Every company has a contact us button. If you're following them on LinkedIn or on social media, you'll see employees, posting comments. You can reach out to them, you can search them. Sometimes they have employee directories. You could try to call and customer service number. Again, you have to put your detective and discovery and curiosity hat on. But if you are following the companies, you will get to see hiring managers, employees, individuals, and they might be able to direct you. My tip would be find someone maybe who started in the company maybe as a co-op student. Look for alumni from your same school. They might be more friendly and respond to you to give you some tips on how to work on a capstone project. Again, I do recommend having, a pitch or, working with your career center. They might be able to help you. And each school, university, or college, they have multiple career centers. So you could have the main career center. If you're in a business program, they will have their own career center. If you're in a law program, they'll have their own career center. So, leverage as much as you can from your university or college. If you are an alumni, reach out to your alumni office and see if they have any suggestions. Find out from your school, maybe they have an opportunity there where you can help solve a problem. Another question is, I'm applying to different jobs, but they're not responding back. Yeah, so this could be many reasons. Again, you want to customize your application. You want to make sure that you are very personal, making sure you've done your research so you stand out in your application. That's step one. Step two is if you've done an informational interview, you've learned something about the company that may not be on the website. So that should be incorporated in your application and making it relevant to you. That's step two. Step three would be if you're not getting responses, again, leveraging free resources, career coaches, university, college, non-for-profits. They have settlement agencies. They have career services that are available. Every city has a support group that you can tap into to help you. And this is something that's going to benefit you in general. So, I would say try to understand, are you applying, to enough jobs? Is your application customized enough? And then how can you sort of get an insider scoop to try to get, as I said, recommended for that interview? So the application is just, you're in a sea of 500 to more applications sometimes. It's not to mean that you can't get selected, but if you do the extra research and you do a better job than just spamming and using the same resume for all applications, you will stand out because now a lot of people are using AI and they're not taking the time to research and customize or personalize their application. So if you do that, you will land something eventually. It's just a matter of, it's an art and a science. So that's my quick answer to that question. Next question. What would be the best way to deal with a gap in the resume? Let's just say someone had a health issue with a family member or a delay in work permits. So again, I would recommend, sorry, that you speak with a coach because again, I feel like everyone's unique in their circumstances. So, if you've had, health issues, you could say career break, on your resume. You could have, personal time on the resume. The main concern, I would say, if you have a big break on your resume is, was it a negative reason? Like, why did you, not have continuous employment? So one of the things that you may do is try to volunteer, try to do other things that shows that you've been, in some way filling that gap. If you're waiting for your work permit, that's something you can absolutely do. Obviously, if you had a health issue, that's not possible. So you could say, personal career break, and if they wanted to talk to you further about that, then they can. So you should not leave a blank in your resume of a career break. It leaves questions and they can just move on to the next candidate. So it's better that you deal with it. You put something on the resume, you try to fill it as best as you can. But if it is a health issue, you need to just put career break on there is what I would recommend. The next question is if we're doing a career pivot, how do we value ourselves? let's say skills or qualifications are not 100% exactly what they're looking for. Do we automatically go for the lowest in the range? No. So I deal with a lot of career switchers and career transitioners, individuals that have so much to offer. So again, please enlist with a career coach, someone that can work with you. But you have transitional skills and knowledge. So for example, someone mentioned that they were in law. So I'll use as an example, if you were a regulated and you were a practicing lawyer or you came to a certain level in law, you have so many skills that are transferable: analytical skills, communication skills, negotiation skills, quick learner, you understand detail, you can interpret the law. There are so many different roles that would love to have someone with a legal background. Law gives you so many skills, good written skills. I could go on and on and on. So, every single experience that you've had in your life, you have acquired some kind of transferable skill or knowledge that can help you immensely. So, for example, if you were in a role where you managed people, managing people is a skill that is transferable in any future role. Maybe it's not the same context, maybe it's not the same, exactly the same, but you have leadership skills that are transferable, right? There's certain things that you cannot teach when you have experience. So, again, you have to use your judgment because if you have a lot of experience, the question the recruiter will be thinking about is this person going to stay? I'm going to train them. I'm going to onboard them. Will they stay with me? So you really have to be clear, depending on how much you say and how much experience you have, you have to prove to them that you want to work in that company. You want to learn, and you're going to have a story to explain why are you doing this career switch, right? So think of the transferable skills you have, enlist a career coach, and maybe you do like a different kind of role that's not going to be exactly at the level where you were qualified for before. I'm not saying that you have to, but what I'm saying is I don't believe that you should be starting on ground zero. I think you still have a lot to offer. So that would be my take on it. But I understand that you will need to be open to roles. You're going to have to convince them that if they invest in you, they train you, and you start in a mid-level or entry level, that you are going to give them some ROI. They want to invest in someone that it really wants that job. I just graduated. How do I know if my resume is appropriate? Thanks, guys. I'm seeing the feedback here. I'm glad it's helpful. I appreciate it. I just graduated. How do I know if my resume is appropriate? So again, please register on Devant. We have a program specifically called Alumni Advantage for recent alumni. Okay, next question. What might be the best way to interpret the answer of the employee once they said you had a positive interview, but they did not give you a job offer? Okay. So remember when you're doing an interview, they're rooting for you. They want you to get the job. They want you to answer correctly, get good information to them, so they feel confident that you're the best match for that position in knowledge, in skills, in aptitude, as I said, in motivation. Also that you match the culture. Every company has a different culture. So, I used to work in the bank, for example. As I mentioned, I have a financial services background and I'm still actively in financial services myself. And I still remember the culture of one bank. It's trust, teamwork, and accountability. You could figure out, which bank that is. And the culture hasn't changed. That's still their values. So, you need to make sure that in your interview, the examples and the evidence that you're giving to them on the questions that they're asking you demonstrates that yes, you have the knowledge, skills, and aptitude, but also that you align with their culture, like trust, teamwork, and accountability. That you can demonstrate that. You are competing with 5 to 7 other people in an interview. Sometimes it's really hard, and it's going to come down to the answer you've given them, and has that evidence that you've given them in the interview answer score highly compared to other candidates. So it could be a very small reason why you didn't get the job. So if they said you had a positive interview, stay in touch with the recruiter. Follow up, add them on LinkedIn, network. They're rooting for you. Reach out for some feedback. They may or may not give you feedback because of the volumes, but it doesn't hurt to try. Stay in touch. And I have someone that still reaches out to me every year. Happy New Year. How are you going? Happy holidays. I've remembered this person now because every year he sends me Happy New Year and Happy Holidays. Sometimes people send articles, they comment, they like. You end up standing out and you're being memorable to that person. Maybe you didn't get that job, but they could talent pipeline you for a future job in the company. So maybe there's another role. Like maybe they said, this person is really strong, but maybe not for this position. Maybe there was another candidate that just answered better during the interview process, right? So I wouldn't give up on that company or that department. I would still maintain the relationship, and every single person you've interviewed with or that, you've connected with, as I said, this is an art and a science. You're not just trying to get the first job or a new job. This is your professional network that can be built over time that can help you for the rest of your life. So remember, you're investing in your network, and it's not just about the job. So if they said it was positive, I would keep going, keep connecting with them, be professional. And you never know, they might recommend you for another job. Okay, next question. Okay, it's 8:17. I'm going to go for 3 more minutes. What if I have some work experience and also education and meet the job requirements, but maybe not the prestigious experience, but have overperformed, gotten promoted, etc.? Where are we allowed to negotiate for a salary at the top of the salary range listed? Okay, so as Emma mentioned, in Ontario, they need to advertise the job salary on all the jobs, number one. Number two, if you have transferable skills and knowledge, you're going to have to sell why they should pay you at the top of the salary range. If it's a unionized job, then maybe they have a specific range that they're only allowed to bring you in at. But you could sort of sell yourself as to why you should be hired above market. So, for example, if you have education at a different level, if you have experience where you feel you can add value, maybe what you can do, is again do some research, demonstrate why you deserve that bigger salary, right? Another thing that you can do is you can ask, if you don't get that salary, can it be revisited in 6 months? Is there a bonus? Like there's so many different ways you can get compensated. Maybe, is there any other way, any other benefits that you might be able to get? Maybe extra vacation, which I know is really tough. Maybe extra training dollars, flexibility at work. Because you know what? That might give you space to do other things that could earn you more income. And that could be giving you time, which you could invest in yourself to be able to build a case for new money or increased money over 6 months. So those are just a few ideas. 8:18. How do I make my LinkedIn profile to be easily noticed by recruiters? Again, I would recommend you go into a coach. That's a long conversation. That's a whole topic in itself. Um, where to find jobs. A lot of these would take longer. So someone asking about legitimate and trustworthy staffing recruitment agencies that I recommend for more creative roles. Yes, like voice acting, character design, video games. Oh my gosh. Yes. Please reach out to me. This is something where I can do some research and I can give you some information from our team. So please feel free to reach out to me. I've heard of Portico for domestic staffing. Okay, so this is a good one. So any tips for vetting legitimacy of a staffing agency? Yes. So I think, take again, look on their LinkedIn, look at feedback, see comments, search them. When you do networking, these are questions that you could be asking people in the industry, right? Tomorrow I'm going to a networking event of a launch in financial services, and I'm going to be meeting other professionals. There'll be like 60 people there. So you can use these questions when you attend networking events, get other people to give you answers. This is a question you can use in informational meetings, okay? Okay, so we're at 8:20. I think I got through a lot of the questions. As I mentioned, feel free to reach out to me. I host these events periodically, for Devant. I hope this was helpful for those of you who stayed back. Wishing you all the best. We are here for you. I think, as I said, really passionate, about helping people secure not only their first job, but a better job, aligned with your career goals and your aspirations and academics. And that actually sets you up in, your future goals, whether that be for owning a home, buying real estate, helping your family, making yourself in a better position economically. So for me, it's very important part of, our overall wellness. I do want to say that today is also, I understand, mental health is really tied to getting a good job, and I can understand how difficult this can be. So I just want to say, if you're finding it really difficult, please, reach out to your support services. We've got so many support services here that are available to help you. There are mental health online phone numbers you can call. The career centers have phones support. There's lots of great programs that are available for you. You are not alone. Keep going and keep investing in yourself. And I hope to see you at a future event hosted by Devon. Good luck, everyone. Feel free to reach out to me online, and we'll see you again.